I'm here with Joan, looking excited, right about half hour before it starts. What do you think? We're less than 30 days away from Iowa. The polls have been all over the place. Warren's currently in third place in Iowa. What are your thoughts?
She's going to do it. She's going to do it. I mean, her speech on New Year's, like, totally rocked, captured everything that is positive about this campaign, that is about not just our fear of the worst, which would be the current administration continuing, but our hopes for what we want this country to be. And I especially loved that she caught, what does it mean for each of us? Like, what possibilities does it open up if we move away from this ridiculous neoliberal austerity regime that we've been suffering for decades and redistribute to the people who created it the wealth that's now in the hands of billionaires and trillionaires? Like, what could we do with that? What would it mean for people not to be working 3 jobs? What would it mean for young people not to be crushed by debt? What would it mean for people not to be afraid to go to the doctor because they can't afford the treatment that's going to be recommended? And she really brought that home.
Let me ask you, because I think in the beginning of the campaign, she was a little bit more to the left. She said, I'm with Bernie on Medicare for all. Then she kind of produced something in the middle. Obviously, student debt, she's capped it at, I believe, $50,000, where Bernie is all cancel it. You mentioned neoliberalism, which I completely agree with you, by the way. Why Warren, as opposed to just let's go for it now? We have the young people behind us. I'm talking if you're like a Bernie person.
Because I think she can actually govern. We've seen what happened. All respect to Bernie for being out there as a democratic socialist, for bringing some, for really opening the window so much wider than it's been. But you got to be able to govern. And looking at her whole career and looking at what she did with the consumer financial regulatory thing, she can solve complicated problems. She can populate the agencies that have been so trashed and depleted with people that are going to know how to get the job done. And no disrespect to Bernie, that's not his card. That's not his strength.
It's actually not true, to be honest with you.
We disagree.
Well, no, I just want to mention, obviously there was the VA healthcare bill. Bernie did that with McCain. During Obamacare, Bernie got $9 billion for community health centers. He just got the first War Powers Resolution Act passed. He's done a lot as a senator.
No, as a senator, being an executive is different. Okay,
She's never been an executive, though. She has done executive things. If this is an interview, I'm glad to continue. If this is you trying to convince me that Bernie's a better candidate, no, I'm just saying she's never had an executive position.
No, but if you look at all of her plans, all of her policy books, she's solving stuff in huge detail. She's solving stuff at the granular level that you have to be able to in government. That's not Bernie's strength.
Based on what, though?
Based on his rhetoric, based on his appeal, to folks who, frankly, haven't had to do the work. I've been around the block a couple of times, and I've never been starry-eyed about any candidate, but I've certainly seen what happens when somebody gets elected to office and hasn't figured out how they're going to deliver. And that's to me, that is the clincher. The other thing I have to say, I think Bernie has come to the issues of racial justice late in the game. He was completely not there in his last campaign in so many ways. I remember when he came to a New York City public housing project and somebody told him the number that it was going to take to put public housing back in decent and safe condition. And he said, 30 billion? He's a small white state guy. And
what's her plan that stands out to you about racial justice?
In every way, she has been out front with racial justice from the very beginning of this campaign, and she has been pragmatic about all of the pieces of racial capitalism that have to be dismantled and replaced. But that's what a lot of the plans are about. right, is that the way, it isn't only that, that billionaires have stolen the wealth of all Americans. They have particularly built their empires on the work of black Americans. And so her economic justice platform is a racial justice platform, and all the nitty-gritty of it is what makes me think that she is the one who can govern kind of from that frame from day zero.
I want to ask you about the governing part, because what I find interesting in her health care plan, which the media has criticized her because first she was with Bernie, then she's doing a public option first. Do you find it realistic that first she's going to get a public option through, she said, in 100 days, and then after the midterms in year 3, she could then get Medicare for all? You're talking 2 massive changes in the healthcare system through Congress.
Yeah. Anyone knows, what can happen in the second year of an administration. I think that when people experience a public option, they'll get it. I think the media have been way overplaying the horse race.
How could she get that through Congress?
She will get a public option through Congress in the first 100 days.
Obama couldn't get it through.
We learned something, didn't we? So, he was a moderate. He governed as a moderate, and he threw the whole ball to Congress and said, "You figure it out, I'll sign it." We know now what a mistake that was. So I don't think Warren would do that. I don't think Bernie would do it either. But I think we are in a different moment. We are in a moment where people understand, how far wrong we went, and how hard we're all going to have to work, by lobbying Congress, by pushing all of the congressional and Senate elections, by pushing even local elections, to get behind the program. And we didn't do that with Obama.
Last question. Obviously Trump's now starting a war with Iran. Warren isn't really known for foreign policy. I don't really care about this faux controversy about what she said about Soleimani, but foreign policy-wise, she supported Guaido in Venezuela, who's, honestly, that's a coup. Most progressives don't support that, and she voted for Trump's very big defense budget 2 years ago. Do you feel?
Yes, did a lot of people, other than Bernie. I will grant you that.
I'm just asking, are you comfortable with her? Let's say she's president, and we might have a war.
I am absolutely comfortable with her as president. If we are in a war by the time she takes office, she will wind that war down.
And how does her domestic policies, which are very bold and cost a lot of money, get through with such a big military budget?
Well, we can't have that military budget. That military budget has got to be slashed.
But she voted for it.
She voted for it along with a lot of other Democratic legislators, as what she felt was the best deal that she could get at the time. Remember, we're still a minority in the Senate, right? So politicians that I support came down on either side of that, and that, to me, that can't be the deal breaker. Okay. I'm making my choice based on the whole range of issues, and I think she is by far going to be the best president.
And I assume you're supporting whoever the nominee is against Trump.
We'll all do what it takes. Whoever the nominee is, will do it. But as this is not the time to worry about who's electable.
Hey, we agree on that. I think. Because they said John Kerry was electable more than Howard Dean. They said Al Gore was electable. They said Hillary Clinton was the most electable. Yeah. Well, they've been wrong.
We know where that leads. So, and again, people like me speculating about how voters we've never met in a part of the country we've never been to are going to vote. No.
Well, I could tell you, because I covered 2016. I covered a lot of Trump rallies, Hillary rallies, and Bernie rallies. These Midwestern voters are not yearning for a centrist. A lot of them were hoodwinked by Trump and that economic populism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think Our job now is to push to get the best candidate we can get, and our job after the nomination is in place is to work our hearts out.
Thank you so much. Judy, you said?
Joan.
Joan, I'm sorry. Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.